Alright, Goku and Marvel episode 6. Light shows go bananas. In this episode, Goku meets Jubilee, so let's get to it. Goku's tail twitched in excitement as Jubilee's palms ignited with swirling, multicolored energy. He'd fought plenty of opponents, mutants, mercenaries, assassins, but this seemed to be something new. Fireworks, he blurted, grinning at as the first blast rocketed toward him. Jubilee smirked, snapped her fingers. Try plasma. The energy detonated mid-air, splitting into a dozen smaller projectiles that rained down like a meteor shower. Goku's eyes widened. This just wasn't flashy. This was dangerous. He flipped backwards, the explosion scorching the snow where he'd stood moments before. Whoa, that's actually kind of cool, he admitted, landing lightly. Jubilee didn't even let up. She spun and launched a rapid barrage of energy orbs, each one crackling with enough force to crater some concrete. Goku weaved between them, his reflexes honed by years of dodging bullets and blades and other projectiles. But these weren't ordinary projectiles. One blast grazed his shoulder, and he hissed, not from pain, but surprise. Damn, that stinks. Jubilee's powers weren't just pyrotechnics. The energy burned like burning plasma, hotter than normal fire, and it carried a concussive force that rattled his bones. And if he wasn't careful, she could probably actually hurt him. Enough! She crossed her arms in an X formation, gathering a massive smear of crackling energy between her hands. Try this! Goku's grin returned. Now that's what I'm talking about. The air itself seemed to vibrate as she unleashed one of her signature moves. Light barrage! He braced himself, ready to meet the blast head on. Logan hauled himself onto the riverbank, water cascading off his soaked clothes as he spouted out a mouthful of icy river water. His ribs ached, his jaw throbbed, and his healing factor was working overtime to stitch his body back together after that last brutal exchange that he had with Goku. And yet, despite the pain, he couldn't help but smirk. That kid was something else. Logan had fought super soldiers and other mutants, even some monsters, but this punk, he hit like a damn meteor, and he would laugh at you while he did it. Most fighters had tails Logan had spent decades learning to exploit. Fear in their eyes when they realized they couldn't hurt him, hesitation when they saw his claws, but that little bastard had a grin. When Logan's adamantium sliced through his jacket, he was just excited that he was able to bleed. Logan flexed his fist, watching as the last of his split knuckles sealed shut. The fight had been short, but it was pretty intense. A brutal back and forth that reminded him of the rare times he'd sparred with Sabretooth before things went to hell. No tricks, no weapons, well, mostly. Just raw power and skill clashing head on. And he felt like that kid wasn't even using his full strength. That was the part that stuck with Logan. He felt like that kid had held back. Not out of fear, but restraint, like he was savoring the fight, not trying to end it. And Logan held back as well once he figured out that he was fighting a kid. Then he exhaled, watching his breath curl in the cold air. Damn kid's got potential. Logan's nostrils flared before his eyes even locked onto the source of the scent. A musky feral thick with a stench of old blood and unwashed fur, a scent that he knew as well as his own. And a grin full of two sharp teeth. Sabretooth. Logan exhaled, steam curling from his lips as his claws snicked out reflexively. Victor. Victor Creed chuckled, rolling his massive shoulders as he stepped forward, his boots crunching the snow. Heard you were looking for Stryker. Figured I'd come watch the fireworks. His grin widened, revealing elongated canines. Didn't think I'd find you taking a swim instead. Logan's jaws tightened. You working for him? Sabretooth barked out a laugh. Nah, but I ain't against watching you tear each other apart. He cracked his knuckles to sound like snapping bone. Been a while since we danced, Jimmy. See if you still got it in you. Logan didn't answer. His mind raced. Sabretooth wasn't here by coincidence. He doubted it. He never was. If he knew Logan was hunting Stryker, then he'd either been tracking him or he had some other stake in this mess. You gonna get in my way? Logan growled. Sabretooth's grin turned predatory. Depends. You gonna make this fun? The tension between them was thick enough to choke on. Years of bad blood, brotherhood turned to hatred, battles fought and left unfinished, simmered in the frozen air. Then from above the distant boom of an explosion echoed down the mountainside. Both mutants glanced up just in time to see a burst of multicolored plasma light up the sky. Sabretooth's grin sharpened. Looks like your little friend is fighting my little friend. Logan's claws flexed. A kid can handle herself. Sabretooth chuckled. Yeah, maybe she can. But let's see if you can. Logan barely raised his claws in time to block Victor's first strike. A brutal swipe that would have taken a chunk out of his neck if he'd been a second slower. The impact sent sparks flying as adamantium made his reinforced claws. The force rattling Logan's arms. Sabretooth didn't let up. With a feral grin, he twisted mid-motion, using his momentum to flip over Logan's head, landing behind him with a mocking chuckle. That kid, Kravenov, was it? Really put you on your ass, huh, Runt? Logan exhaled through his nose, rolling his shoulders as he turned to face Victor. I was going easy on him. You, though? His claws gleamed under the moonlight. You don't get the same treatment. Sabretooth threw his head back and laughed, the sound more growl than amusement. Oh, this ought to be good. He flexed his fingers, his own claws thicker, longer, and just as deadly, extended with a wet shink. Let's see if you can back that up, Jimmy. They circled each other, two apex predators, sizing up old wounds and old grudges. The snow crunched underfoot, the only sound in the frozen silence before the storm that was about to come. The moment the last taunt left Sabretooth's lips, both mutants lunged, claws flashing, teeth bared, decades of hatred fueling every strike. Sabretooth's claws raked across Logan's chest, shredding leather and flesh alike. Blood splattered the snow. But Logan barely flinched, retaliating with an upper slash that carved deep furrows across Victor's jaw. Still slow, Creed, Logan growled as the healing factor sealed the wounds in seconds. Sabretooth spat out a glob of blood, licking his split lip with a grin. Ain't nothing but a scratch, Runt. They clashed again, claws locking in a shower of sparks. Sabretooth overpowered Logan with his sheer mass, driving him back, only for Logan to twist, using Victor's momentum to flip him overhead. Sabretooth hit the ground hard, but rode with it, springing back up with a kick that sent Logan skidding backward. You always did fight dirty, Sabretooth sneered. Only way to fight you, Logan shot back, already healing from the bruises. Slash, counter, heal, repeat. Logan ducked under a wild swing and drove his claws into Sabretooth's gut, twisting hard. Victor roared, not in pain but in fury, and retaliated by sinking his fangs into Logan's shoulder, shaking him like a rag doll before hurling him into a boulder. Logan coughed up blood and grinned through his red-stained teeth. Is that all you got? Sabretooth wiped his mouth, watching as the holes in his stomach stitched themselves shut. Nah, I'm just warming up. Then they charged again, neither giving an inch, neither backing down. Goku had been dodging Jubilee's plasma blast with ease, his tail flicking playfully as he weaved between the colorful explosions, but the mutant girl was smarter than she looked. Jubilee feinted left, firing a quick burst of sparks to herd Goku towards the cliff's edge. He smirked, thinking he had her figured out, until she suddenly crossed her arms and unleashed a point-blank dazzler burst that hit right into his chest. Boom! The explosion was blinding, a supernova of pink and gold energy that engulfed Goku completely. The force sent him rocketing backward, skidding across the snow like a skipping stone, before crashing into a pile of rubble. Smoke curled from the impact site, the air thick with the scent of ozone and singed fabric. Jubilee groaned, blowing a strand of hair out of her face. Yeah, how's that for fireworks, tough guy? For a moment there was silence. Then it was followed by a series of coughs. Goku sat up, shaking the debris from his hair. His leopard skin shirt was scorched, his chest smeared with soot, but otherwise he looked more annoyed than hurt. Okay, that one actually stung, he admitted, rubbing his ribs. Jubilee's grin faltered. Wait, you're fine? That blast could have taken out a tank. Goku stood, dusting himself off. I've had worse. His tail flickered eagerly. But hey, that was a really good trick. You got me fair and square. Jubilee blinked. This guy was thanking her for blasting him. Before she could process that, Goku just rushed her again. But then Goku coughed and rolled onto his knees as the smoke from Jubilee's last blast had cleared. Because his muscles began to ache. Not from her attacks, but from the brutal fight that he had with Logan prior. The old man had hit him hard, harder than most opponents Goku had faced before, and his ribs still throbbed from Logan's fist, where Logan's fist had landed, and his knuckles were raw from the exchange. Damn, I'm slower than usual, Goku realized, shaking out his arms. Jubilee didn't let up. Another plasma orb whizzed towards him, forcing him to twist aside at the last second. The explosion scorched his shoulder, and he hissed, not just from the burn, but from the realization that he was actually struggling. Okay, think, Goku told himself, dodging another volley. This girl's blaster is strong, but she's not as tough as me. All I have to do is get close. As Jubilee's plasma orb streaked toward him, Goku's body moved on instinct, twisting, weaving, narrowly avoiding each blast, but his usual speed wasn't there. His muscles were burning from the fight with Logan. His reaction time was dulled by fatigue. Then, cutting through the chaos, T'Challa's voice echoed in his mind. Remember that you are not normal. Your body is not just flesh and bone. It is your armor, much like my panther suit. Your body is your weapon. Command it. And then Goku's eyes snapped open. Jubilee's next plasma blast froze mid-throw because she began to step back as the ground beneath her feet trembled. The snow around Goku began to swirl, lifting into the air as if it caught an invisible vortex. His muscles tensed, his breathing steadied, and a sudden gust of wind erupted from his body, kicking up a storm of ice and debris. Jubilee stumbled back, shielding her eyes from the sudden gale. What the? Goku's fist clenched, his tail lashing behind him like a whip. His fatigue burned away, replaced by a surge of energy that crackled through his veins. Goku didn't know it yet, but he was now accessing his ki. T'Challa's words echoed in his mind. Your body is your weapon. Command it. And for the first time, Goku truly understood. He had tapped into something unknown. His muscles, his bones, his very cells, they could be used as his armor. And with a deep exhale, Goku's eyes snapped open, sharp and focused. The wind died down, leaving an eerie stillness in its wake. Jubilee swallowed hard. The cocky grin on his face was gone. Now he looked dangerous. All right, Goku said, rolling his shoulders. Let's go again. Jubilee's eyes widened as Goku's stance shifted, no longer dodging, no longer playing defense. His body hummed with an unseen energy, a faint white aura flickering around him like a heat haze. She didn't hesitate. With the snap of her wrist, she unleashed another volley of plasma orbs, each one crackling with enough force to punch through metal. But this time, Goku didn't move. A pink comet of energy streaked towards his chest. Goku's forearm shot up, smacking it aside like a bothersome insect. The deflected orb detonated against a nearby pine tree, reducing it to splinters. Then she sent a second blast. A golden sparkle spiraled at his face. Goku tilted his head, and he backhanded it into the snow, where it erupted in a geyser of steam and ice. A third, a fourth, a fifth. Jubilee fired faster, her attacks becoming a dazzling storm of color. But Goku's hands moved in a blur, redirecting each blast with effortless precision. One ricocheted off his elbow, obliterating a security camera on the bunker wall. Another was swatted upward, lighting up the night sky like a Roman candle. Jubilee's breath came in short gasps. No way. He's just slapping them away now all of a sudden? Goku grinned, his tail flicking once. Come on, you can do better than that. Jubilee's heart pounded as Goku blurred toward her, his form a streak of motion against the snow. Her mind raced. Her plasma blasts were useless if he could deflect them so easily, and she wasn't built for close quarters combat like Logan. But she wasn't helpless. Think, Jubes. She snapped her fingers, conjuring a cluster of micro-explosions at her feet. Not aimed at Goku, but at the ground beneath her. The detonation launched her backward, putting distance between them as Goku skidded to a halt where she'd stood moments before. Smart, he laughed, while impressed. Jubilee didn't waste time gloating. She crossed her arms, charging a massive, swirling sphere of plasma between her palms. If he wanted to get close, she'd make him eat the biggest blast she could muster. Eat glitter, tough guy, she yelled, hurling the condensed energy straight at him. Goku's grin widened. Instead of dodging or deflecting, he reared back a fist and punched the orb head on. and punched the orb head on. The explosion engulfed him in a blinding shockwave, but Jubilee's stomach dropped. No way. That worked? Through the smoke, a silhouette stood unharmed, fist still extended. Okay, Goku admitted, shaking his stinging hand. That one was cool. Jubilee gulped. Alright, it was time for plan B. Jubilee's fingers tightened around the frames of her pink-tinted shades as she slid them over her eyes. She had been saving this move for a real emergency, and right now, this freakishly strong teenager shrugging off her best shots definitely qualified. You want to play rough? Fine. She planted her boots in the snow, arms outstretched as her entire body began to glow with a searing golden pink light. The air around her crackled with unstable energy. The snow melted instantly into steam that was around her. Flare Blitz! With the snap of her wrist, she unleashed it. A blinding supernova of light erupted from her body, washing over the battlefield in an overwhelming wave. The initial flash was designed to disorient, burning after images into the retinas. But the real danger came next. A concentrated beam of plasma, hotter than any of her other attacks. And it landed straight toward Goku. The ground trembled as the blast carved a molten trench through the snow, the sheer force of it kicking up a shockwave that shattered nearby ice formations. Jubilee's shades protected her from the worst of the glare, but even she had to squint against the residual brightness. The moment Jubilee's flare blitz ignited, Goku's instincts screamed. Ah, too bright! His hand shot up to shield his eyes, but the sheer intensity of her light burned through his eyelids, searing his vision white. His pupils contracted painfully, and for a split second, he was completely blind. Then, the plasma wave hit. The force of the blast lifted him off his feet, the superheated energy scorching his skin as he was hurled backward. His body tumbled through the air like a rag doll before crashing into the snow, carving a deep trench as he skidded to a stop. Steam rose from his singed clothes, his muscles twitching from the residual energy cracking over him. For the first time in a long while, Goku felt pain from burns. As he lay motionless in the frost, Jubilee stood panting, her hands still glowing faintly from the effort. She adjusted her shades back to normal, watching him warily. Jubilee exhaled sharply, her breath fogging in the cold air as she lowered her still smoking hands. The battlefield was a mess. Molten trenches carved into the snow, scorched marks, the blackening of the ground, and the lingering scent of ozone thickened the air. And at the center of it all, Goku lay motionless, steam curling off his singed clothes. She adjusted her pink shades, pushing them up onto her forehead as she took a cautious step forward. Huh, she muttered, a slow grin spreading across her face. Guess even you have limits, huh, tough guy? And for a second, she just stood there, soaking in the victory. She'd fought plenty of battles with the X-Men, but this was different. This wasn't with teamwork or luck. Guess even teamwork or luck. She'd taken down a freaky, strong, tail-having, bulletproof weirdo all by herself, and with style at that. Logan's so gonna owe me for this, she chuckled, dusting off her gloves. She could already picture the look on his grumpy face when he found out that she'd handled his problem for him. Still, she wasn't dumb enough to let her guard down completely. She'd seen enough fights to know that sometimes the bad guys get back up. So she kept her palms raised, ready to blast him again if he so was twitch, but Goku didn't move. Jubilee smirked, popping a fresh piece of gum into her mouth. Yeah, that's what I thought. She turned, scanning the battlefield for Logan. Time to find the old man and rub it in his face. But then, Jubilee gasped as an invisible force slammed into her, sweeping her legs out from under her. She hit the snow with a thud, her shades tumbling off as she scrambled to sit up. Goku stood a few feet away, his eyes still squeezed shut, but his body was coiled like a spring, his fist clenched with a radiating, faint, crackling white energy that he recently discovered and still did not fully understand. His tail lashed behind him, twitching like a radar dish, sensing every shift that was in the air. Jubilee's jaw dropped. How the hell are you still fighting? You can't even see. Goku grinned, his burned eyelids still shut tight. Yeah, Elektra trained me better than that. Jubilee froze. Who the hell's Elektra? Long story, just my organization's best assassin. Goku continued, tilting his head slightly as if listening to the wind. She made me fight blindfolded for weeks, taught me to read the air, the heartbeat, the intent behind every move. His smirk widened. You're loud, Jubilee. Your breath hitches before you attack. Your boots crunch snow when you shift your weight. It was pretty predictable. Jubilee sat there and wondered why she was getting a lesson after all this. Goku stood over Jubilee, his scorched clothes still smoking from her plasma blast. His tail flicked lazily behind him, though his eyes were still squeezed shut from the blinding flare. His grin was wide and genuine. You know, you're pretty good, he said, extending a hand toward her. Jubilee blinked up at him, panting, her gloves singed from her own attacks for a second. She hesitated. Was this some type of trick? But there was no malice in his voice, no mocking edge, just admiration. She scowled and slapped his hand away and pushed herself up on her own. Yeah, save the sportsmanship. I still lost. Goku laughed, rubbing the back of his head. Kinda. But you fought smart. Those blasts of yours, way stronger than I expected. And that last move, the big flashy one, that was awesome. Jubilee crossed her arms, trying to hide how much praise caught her off guard. Thanks. Goku stretched, rolling his shoulders. Man, I love fighting people who actually make me think. Most guys just shoot or punch and hope it works. You know, but you adapted, he grinned again, finally cracking his eyes open, still red from the flare, but recovering. We should spar again sometime. Jubilee huffed, adjusted her coat. Yeah, no thanks, once was enough. Goku shrugged, still smiling. You're a loss. Logan's claws dripped crimson as he stood over Sabretooth's fallen form, while the river's icy current already began pulling the large mutant's body. Victor snarled, his golden eyes burning with fury even as his healing factor was closing the deep wounds Logan had carved into his chest. This ain't over, Jimmy. Sabretooth spat, blood bubbling between his fangs. It never is, Logan growled, retracting his claws with a snick. He didn't bother watching as the current dragged Victor downstream. They'd both survived worse. Turning, Logan inhaled sharply, his enhanced senses cutting through the lingering scents of gunpowder and burnt ozone. The fight with Goku had been brutal, but this was a pure violence. Sabretooth had always been a ghost from his past, a reminder of the bloodstained road that he'd walked. And now, with Stryker slipping through his fingers again, Logan's rage simmered beneath the surface. Logan trudged up the mountainside, his boots crunching through the snow as he followed the scent of burnt ozone and scorched earth. His ribs ached from Sabretooth's claws, and his knuckles were still raw from trading blows with Goku earlier. But his healing factor had already stitched most of the damaged clothes. The cold air stung his lungs, but the fire in his chest burned hotter. Rage as Stryker slipping away again, frustration of him being at another dead end. Then he heard it, the rapid crunch of footsteps rushing toward him. Logan! Jubilee barreled into him, wrapping her arms around his waist in a tight hug, before immediately pulling back, her face flushed from the cold and embarrassment. I mean, you're alive. Good. She crossed her arms, trying to play it cool. We're starting to think that kid threw you off that mountain for good. Logan grunted, glancing past her to where Goku stood a few yards away, watching them with an amused grin. The kid looked worse for wear. His clothes were singed from Jubilee's plasma blast. That much was obvious. His skin was still pink from burns, but he was standing tall, with his tail flicking lazy behind him, like he hadn't just gone toe-to-toe with two mutants and come out on top. Logan's nostrils flared, no scent of fear, no regret, just the lingering adrenaline of a good fight. Stryker got away, Logan muttered, more to himself than anyone else. Jubilee frowned. Yeah, I'm sure you can find him again, though, right? But this time take me with you. Logan exhaled, watching his breath curl in the air. She was right. Stryker was a snake, but snakes always left trails. And Logan, he was the best damn tracker there was. Goku stretched, rolling his shoulders. Man, today was fun. You guys hit hard. He grinned at Logan, especially you, old man. We should do this again sometime. Logan shot him a glare, but there was no real heat behind it. The kid was strong. Too strong for his own good. But he wasn't really an enemy. Just a fighter who loved the thrill of battle as much as Logan did. Next time, Logan growled, I won't hold back. Goku's grin widened. Neither will I. Jubilee groaned. You two are insufferable. Logan ignored her, turning his gaze toward the horizon. Stryker was gone for now, but the hunt wasn't over. And when he found him again, he would show him no mercy. But for today, he'd take the small victories and lick his wounds. Let's go, kid, he muttered to Jubilee, jerking his head towards the tree line. She nodded, falling into step beside him. Goku watched him go, tail swaying thoughtfully. Man, Earth has some crazy strong people. And then he decided that he would run after them because he wanted to know Wolverine's name. Goku sprinted after Logan and Jubilee, his tail flicking eagerly as he caught up to them. Hey, wait up! Jubilee turned, raising an eyebrow. What now? Goku skidded to a stop in front of them, grinning. I never got your name. He jabbed a thumb at his chest. I'm Kravenov. Well, that's what a lecturer in the hand called me anyway. Logan studied him for a moment before exhaling his name. Logan. Logan, Goku repeated. Cool name. And I already know yours, he turned to Jubilee. She crossed her arms. Yeah, don't forget Jubilee is the girl that kicked your butt and put you on your ass. Goku laughed. Yeah, that flare move was awesome, but next time, I won't let you blind me that easily. Logan grunted. Kid, if there's a next time, you won't walk away. Goku's grin only widened. We can test that right now. Jubilee rolled her eyes. You're both insane. Logan turned to leave again, but Goku called out, Hey, Logan, if you ever want to fight for real, no holding back, just let me know. Logan didn't look back, but the corner of his mouth twitched. Maybe when you're older, kid. Since it was art, as they walked away, Goku was left in his thoughts. And since it was already really late, he decided maybe he should catch up and stick with them till the morning. And that's going to be the end of that episode. Hope you guys liked it, man. To the next one. Like, comment, subscribe. Gone.